And there are other macro issues that are happening in the tech world as we're thinking about AI. We talked a few weeks ago about Microsoft looking like they were cutting their CapEx commitments, and now we're seeing Amazon is pulling back on CapEx investments in servers as well, as they're starting to realize that the commitments that they made may have been a little overblown. And I've heard we've got tariffs as well that may be making making that decision a little difficult as well. So what do you think about the CapEx spend decisions that are starting to be announced by the big AI players?
Well, that specific article, I had this thing come into my head is like, the a new alternative title for that is Big Blue Now Seeing Red.
Yes.
And I think that there's two things that we want to. I'll take this from two sides. So the first side
Sure.
is from the government customer's perspective. I think that this is a good time with all of the budget uncertainty and not knowing what's going to happen. Uh, it really is time to focus on fundamentals, get back to
Yep.
basics. Think about the core capabilities that you need in order to meet the organization mission, and then expand the spend for anything you have above and beyond that, where it's easy to demonstrate that you're delivering customer or end user value that makes the experience better, more predictable, able to actually fulfill on what you're on the hook for. And from a provider and tech firm's perspective, I think that there's two things I would primarily recommend is
Mhm.
lead with products that are going to give customers good blocking and tackling capabilities at attractive prices, even if that's a bit of a loss leader. And then being able to look at what are your cross sells and upsells that translate into an enhanced customer value or an enhanced customer experience where they can now easily justify that spend. It probably is not a way to be, rolling in dough, but it's a good way to kind of ensure that there's a predictable level of growth and not straining the either your budget or artificially constraining what you can actually get into the marketplace and have be successful.
Yes, I feel like the work that has been done with AI specifically, there's been a lot of experimentation going on, and not necessarily a lot of focus on how these agents, how these generative capabilities, how all this data center and computing commitment actually leads to business value and
Yeah.
outcomes at the end of the day. There's a lot missing in that mapping, and I think this is we are definitely at a time right now where blocking and tackling matters, where we are trying to figure out at the end of the day, how does this technology investment lead to better either sales or marketing or budgeting
Right.
or purchasing or operational value or manufacturing, or help us to track the incipient supply chain issues that we are about to face as shipping and tariffs come into play. We know they're going to happen. We know there's going to be some rapid changes, and this is not the time to have ocean liner type monolithic technologies that can't shift quickly enough to
Yeah,
meet business needs. Mhm.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. So it's interesting that I feel like with at the hyperscaler level, the likes of Microsoft and Amazon are really trying to figure out how much money are we supposed to spend. We know it's going to be billions of dollars in computing, but we don't necessarily know how much. We want to say that it's enough that the market will be confident that AI demand is there, but we can't actually bankrupt ourselves to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, to your point, we're really early days in seeing the actual impacts and the true costs of the self-inflicted gunshot wound that
Mhm.
the tariff wars have represented. And how it's going to play out, I don't think is going to bode well for any of us. Um, I think we're far from a cap on seeing on the spend on AI because of continued innovation. Even if that is not like, oh my God, it's the growth is massive. We're still going to see a lot of it. Why? Well, vertical and company specific models, not
Mhm.
necessarily like the base LLM, but really there's lots of work to be done for the verticals. Raw storage requirements. I'd like to think about this in terms of people have been talking about data lakes. No, think about like a data ocean.
Hmm.
There's a lot of data out there that we might need to be considering as we develop these new specific models. And then there's all of the conditioning that goes along with taking that ocean and now cleansing that data, doing the extract, transform, and load so that it now is usable on one of your platforms to either do your analytics or drive your new AI behaviors or the agentic things that we want to be able to do. And then let's expand that out a little bit farther and say that we might even be redrawing the boundaries on what we consider edge computing and edge
Hmm.
technologies. So this has got a lot of room to run, but it's going to take time to have that all play out. We are going to use that capacity. How quickly, how fully, those are environmental variables we're going to see. I think that the investment required on the part of the hyperscaler, the exact level of performance that the customer is going to expect, and then comparing that to the yield is going to be like the calculus that needs to be thought about when we consider exactly what they're going to invest and what that means to the consumer. It's
Hmm.
anything but a done deal.
Yeah. And I find that concept of the data ocean really interesting. So I'm a bit of an aquarium nerd. I used to live in Boston, where the New England Aquarium is, and now I'm a member of the Monterey Bay Aquarium here in California. Like I really like, seawater and fish and all that. But part of the interesting about an ocean, we don't really think about the ocean very much, but it covers 70% of the planet. And
Yeah.
there are a wide array of ecosystems within the ocean. So what you see at the beach is very different from what you see 20 or 30,000 feet underwater. And all of these different ecosystems now have to be built out. And I feel like that's a very apt comparison to what we're seeing from the data side, where we have everything from ephemeral time streaming data that where you go from stream to decision in milliseconds all the way to the deep archived stuff that you may
Yeah.
never touch again but want to keep as a trade secret or may want to hide under lock and key for whatever reason. So all these different things, and
Yeah.
right now it's just kind of dumped into what we call the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, without really knowing what to do with a lot of it. But we're going to have to make a lot more of those nuanced decisions, and hopefully AI can help us a little bit with that. Yes.